Nemetschek operates primarily as a software technology firm serving the AEC segment, architecture, engineering, and construction segment. We also have a couple of softwares which cater to the entertainment industry, but those are also relevant to the construction industry because they are related more on the rendering side. For example, Maxon, which is a pretty popular tool amongst the media and entertainment segment, that is part of Nemetschek Group. And we have softwares throughout the different stages of a project, from the early planning to schematics to actual design. BIM, of course, is included all through the process, building and construction, and operate and manage as well. Kamansi, we can move on.
Yeah.
To give a brief background about what Nemetschek is, okay, Uh, of course, we talked about the four different segments. Last year, we did close to 850 million euros in revenue, and we have about 7 million users worldwide. This year, this number might increase to about 7.5 million, thanks in a big way to the Indian customers. Nemetschek was founded by an academician, Professor George Nemetschek, in 1963. Okay. He was a professor as well as a technologist and identified the need to have the processes. I think few people are, yeah. Shiva, can you please continue admitting people on my behalf? Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So he has established a lot of non-profit organizations, has been a pioneer of the BIM software. In fact, Nemetschek softwares were the first few uh, to do projects in 3D. ArchiCAD and Allplan were ready and functional to work in the 3D environment in the 1970s and early 80s. And we are set for the future as well. We have two ex-Google leaders who were leading AI innovation for Google in their previous employment. Now, for the last 1 year, they are working with Nemetschek Group, helping us bring in the AI layer on top of the different projects or tools that we have. What it will do is help make the help button or ease of access or ease of use with the help of AI to all the users. So learning, getting help or getting support. So what you might be doing currently is asking one of your colleagues on how to navigate through a certain function, right? All these help items will be solved by the AI layer. And top of that, some few things that are already launched are our AI visualizers. So we have collaborated with Stable Diffusion for their database on different buildings and renderings. And that has allowed our authoring softwares, Allplan, ArchiCAD, and Vectorworks to all have AI visualization capabilities. Most of the revenues that we generate go back into R&D, and that just shows our commitment to the betterment or continuous progression of the BIM industry. Nemetschek has been a supporter of open BIM technology, and that's why all our softwares are interoperable with other softwares. Some of our global customers, pretty much all the big names that you might have heard or worked with, are users of Nemetschek products. Mansi?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the bigger challenges, of course, right? BIM, the big reason why people follow BIM is because of most of the projects struggle with budget and time overruns, right? And that's why we all know how important BIM is to the construction industry, right? Equally important is carbon emissions because we contribute to about 40% of the carbon emissions of the world, right? Therefore, the onus relies on us on how we reduce the carbon footprint of the construction industry. Waste is another big reason, and which can be reduced through proper planning and implementation of BIM technology. Of course, skilled resources remains a challenge, but with good technology or technology which enables these workers on site to get the latest and greatest information, okay, that would enable even the unskilled laborers to take more informed decisions. And that's why our role of doing a better job with keeping the project data or the drawing data up to date on a common data environment becomes that more critical. Yeah, Mansi, continue. The agenda for today is, of course, we will walk you through what are the different challenges and the ways to overcome the green or sustainability requirements of the Indian construction industry. Mansi has over 16 years of experience. She has been a technologist, an architect herself who was practicing and then moved to the technology industry, has implemented BIM in pretty much all the organizations which are well known in and around Maharashtra and the south of India. She has a good grasp on what are the technology requirements and the constraints, and has been working with Nemetschek for the past 1 year since the time we launched in India as a group, and has been promoting Nemetschek solutions and helping our customers implement better technologies. Yeah, Mansi, you can take over.
All right. Thank you, Shoaib. So Shoaib will help me navigate through this webinar wherever I need help for. So
Sure.
Shoaib is our business counterpart. He didn't mention that in the introduction, so I thought I'll take the liberty to tell you all that he's
Thank you
also a
so much.
seasoned professional and an engineer in working in the construction industry, but he's taking care of our sales portfolio. So, all right. So, agenda for today is I know it's a little longer, 2 hours. So, we've kind of split the agenda for you so that you exactly know where all the sessions are aligned, and we'll also take small polls like we just started with, just to have the takeaways properly noted with all of us. So we'll start with my introduction. I'm Manasi. I'm an architect by background. I have worked for 16 years in this industry now, and I would like to tell you more about the Nemetschek solutions, especially on the building energy modeling side, which is BEM, as well as how these solutions help you automate a lot of green checks as well as a lot of checks for our bylaws. So we'll deep dive into a lot of these products and let's begin. So I'll start with Nemetschek sustainability drivers because Nemetschek, though being a software company or we create softwares, we sell softwares, but still Nemetschek also has a buy-in for sustainability drivers. So what exactly Nemetschek does for sustainability? Like any other company, we also publish our CSR reports every year, and we are proud to tell you that our sustainability drivers are being adopted globally. So, starting with intelligent 3D models, automated checks, bylaws for green certifications, right up to doing all energy simulations, be it your solar, daylight, thermal, PV, and many other simulations which are required at different stages of the project can be handled well with Nemetschek solutions. Nemetschek also has an embodied carbon calculator as a tool, as well as it also has a carbon checker as a plugin. So there is a lot that has been happening on the carbon sector when we talk of sustainability. But when it comes to softwares, though there are a lot of AI tools coming in, there are softwares which talk about beautiful models, renders, and so on. But nowhere sustainability is integrated with it. So Nemchek tries to integrate sustainability even to a element level wherein the carbon can be mapped. So we'll see that as well. And then lastly, the material palette for specifications is something very unique across all solutions of Nemetschek. So we'll begin with certain project examples. We'll also deep dive into softwares. But with Nemetschek solution sustainability drivers, I'm sure there is more that you guys can take away from this webinar. So to begin with the sustainability tools first, so right from the concept stage to schematic landscape, detail interiors, structural analysis, to engineering, to fabrication, to CDE, even in the operations side, all different tools are meant for different stages of the projects. And like I said, there are some percentages or numbers because I like to start with numbers. When we talk of numbers, these are two different numbers which are populated in our CSR report, meaning we globally have saved 25% of, we have mapped 25% of savings, energy savings with certain solutions of Nemcheck, and 90% of saving with pure paperless site initiatives. So when we say 90% of energy saving, it is because only of the usage of paper on construction sites. So there are open BIM solutions like in center of this slide that you see, Solibri and Bluebeam contribute a lot to make your sites paperless, and the energy savings can shoot up as high as to 90% purely for paper usage. So that all data collaboration, everything that an engineer or an architect needs on site can be populated through various digital platforms. That's the idea. So we will deep dive with the concept part first with ArchiCAD. So ArchiCAD is also a well-known tool. Most of you must have heard about it. So it is a complete BIM authoring tool talking about uh, catering to all different segments, and it can federate a model within one file. That is the beauty of ArchiCAD. Like you must be using many different softwares, I'm sure, for 3D, but ArchiCAD can federate one model and allow you to work with it very seamlessly with less hardware consumption also. Then next is Vectorworks. It's a niche product mainly for the landscape, for retail and interior fit out projects, and also for few event segment projects. So it is a very niche product working with BIM concepts, but it is meant for certain project typologies only. Then all the products on the right hand side are purely for the structural workflow with sustainability. That is right from analysis to fabrication. And even when we talk of automated steel connections like SDS2, even that has certain level of automation into it, which eventually does savings on the material wastage and so on. So we'll deep dive into small glimpses of these products. And BIM Plus and BIM X are the cloud solutions that we have, the common data environment. And Spacewell deals with the operations or the IoT segment, creating multiple devices and IoT mapping. It has a solution platform for Dexma, which talks more about sustainability across operations sector. So in nutshell, we'll deep dive into different stages of the project and different solutions of Nemcheck with the sustainability drivers today. So talking of Nemcheck green building package, we work with three concepts primarily. One is the one-click LCA, that is life cycle assessment. All our tools here listed here have partnership and alignment with one-click LCA. We do incorporate sustainability drivers, and all our tools have interoperability solutions, which helps in open BIM, in promoting open BIM. So when we say open BIM, when we say one-click LCA, these are some properties which are embedded into our solutions very well. So the Nemcheck Green package is divided into two areas. One is creating a building energy modeling. We have heard a lot about BIM, that is building information management, and many tools do beautiful work around different project typologies. But let's talk of building energy modeling today, because only a dumb 3D model doesn't help any of the ESG managers, it doesn't help any of the green certifications today. So let's talk of creating a building energy model, which is BEM. And the authoring tools are ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, or Allplan for different project typologies, for different segments, and so on. So one of these BIM authoring tool plus one of the collaboration tool, which is with OpenBIM, that is Solibri and Bluebeam. So Solibri is a automated design checker, a green checker also for you. We'll talk about it, deep dive into it. And Bluebeam is purely for drawings and PDFs when someone has to collaborate, check, and send data across for different stakeholders. Then we use Bluebeam. So these are two different segments, and we're talking of five products today. So starting with the Nemetschek green building package with ArchiCAD. So when we talk of ArchiCAD, like I said, it's a BIM authoring tool. So we'll see how the BIM authoring tool, BIM, journey goes to building information modeling as well today. We'll deep dive into Vectorworks solution for certain carbon checking footprint, and we'll check Allplan also for the one-click LCA. And then we'll deep dive into the automated checks for Solibri and certain features of Bluebeam. So starting with ArchiCAD, ArchiCAD is a total BIM authoring tool. The differentiator here is the AI prompter that it has. So like you see on screen, if we create as a sketch model or a dummy model like you see on screen, and I give the AI prompts within the tool, I can see these kind of images being shared by the tool itself. So even before the feasibility stage or the concept stage, when architects try to start the modeling or try to play with certain shapes, ArchiCAD helps with these AI prompts to generate certain renders, certain masses, and gives a good feasibility to the architect who starts with one of these models. And all typical features of a authoring tool our design options. ArchiCAD also has layer management to it, and then we can collaborate seamlessly with all different file formats that ArchiCAD gives. So this is a sample model wherein you can see all different disciplines, architecture, structure, MEP, typically creating a BIM model for this kind of a scale and starting to collaborate. Of course, all of this is created in one file format. So when we start working on different softwares, obviously there are different stakeholders who work on a given project, but ArchiCAD can help me build all these disciplines into one file format with layer management as well. And I can then extract different kind of sections. I can detail out different sections. And while detailing this out, we can tag the materials, we can run the energy simulations, and we can still share all this data across different disciplines. So these are a few glimpses of a typical BIM model so that all of us are on same page that what exactly a BIM model should have with ArchiCAD, and then we'll proceed on to the nitty-gritties of sustainability drivers. So these are all the typical details that you can extract from ArchiCAD across a multidisciplinary or a federated model. We can also tag information onto 3D views or 3D sections, which can be generated by this tool. And you can take quantities as well from this solution. So when I say quantities, it's not restricted only to the certain typical quantities or schedules that we talk of. It can actually quantify a lot of information from the intelligent model. And now the intelligent BI model is ready with, say, hundreds of sections, elevations, floor plans, ceiling and site plans, or even 3D views. You can push this to a desktop application, to a web application. So on the left-hand side that you see on screen is the web application or the app called BIMX, again from ArchiCAD. So ArchiCAD is my authoring tool. I created a BIM model. I have information into it. I'm pushing all that information for my site so that I can eliminate paper from my sites. So then we'll see how exactly a site person who has a tab or who has a mobile, he's opening it on his phone and he's trying to access the same information, the typical design information as first step for his working. So when he tries to do that, see, there are multiple common data environments available today, but there are no softwares or platforms which can actually show you a 2D and 3D integrated. So what you just saw is a model attached or linked to those many number of files and drawings as well. So wherever this section exactly is, nobody is going to evaluate and try to find out where this drawing exactly is sitting, where the section is exactly cut from. He'll simply toggle the section bar on his tab and he can see all the drawings very much linked with this tabs, so that just clicks on the tab and he can toggle the section and start reviewing and using the information from the model. So there are multiple apps also, there are multiple common data environments which push data certain file formats today. But ArchiCAD and BIMX is a combination which gives you 2D plus 3D information aligned in 3D itself for usage. It's available in sections, it's available for the plans as well as for the detail views also. So let's talk about when this information reaches a ESG manager or the energy consultant. So you have this information rich BIM model coming from various stakeholders, and then you try to create analysis and you try to actually create a building energy model. So when you start with the building energy model, what are the typical parameters that you would need? So you will need performance, energy balance, you will need heating and ventilation, target and sources mapped properly. You will demand these sources to be as granular as secondary level. You will also ask about energy consumption targets if we can feed in at this detail for a particular model, and a monthly simulation and an annual simulation for how this project energy balance is used. So across a particular month, we can highlight and see, across a particular year, we can highlight and see what is the energy performance of of this particular model. So let's see what output the different ESG managers can get out of this. So in terms of energy savings, you can go as granular as an elemental level. Meaning a simple example on the left hand side wherein you are using a two-track window versus you are using a three-track window. So this information is captured in a model. It can be any block that is giving this information. But in that block, there are certain targets and sources being captured for that particular element or component. It is also linked to material in case of other components. So what ArchiCAD algorithm is doing, it is calculating all both the scenarios for you, wherein you can see energy saving of 446 kilowatt per annum for one element. So I can drill down to a element level, or I can drill down to the performance evaluation of the entire model. Provided the BIM model has to come with all this information readily available inside it at category level, at element level, or at even a complete model level. So once this information comes in, you can also take care of the external factors. Like on the right hand side, you see energy savings from tree. So if you observe carefully, there are two models here. So one has a tree and one is without a tree. So basically, ArchiCAD algorithm is giving me comparison of two scenarios wherein just planting one tree outside a wall with certain opening, this can be energy difference that can be observed in winter, and there can be certain energy savings in summer also. So the first simulation that you see energy consumption by target is for summer, and this is for winter. There is still a energy saving of 17 kilowatt because of planting one tree outside one wall with certain opening. So that is what we call as building energy modeling, and the features that have to be included if the model is to be considered for energy analysis. So let's deep dive into this very aspect. So when we want to go from BIM to BEM, these are certain values that we have to capture. For energy balance, obviously for heating, cooling, ventilation, we need to capture the energy sources and the energy targets. Only when all these are captured properly, we can go to a level of CO2 emissions also, and then top of mapping that data properly, etc. So let's take a sample model and let's see the example that we have seen here for two track and three track. Let's also see the same example of planting a tree outside this same model. And let's reach this level of information and simulation. So how exactly can we achieve? It needs three parameters. Any building in energy model needs three parameters. The geometry has to be correct, the system occupancy data and the climate data has to be correct. So starting with geometry of this particular model, when I said geometry or structural detail, all zones have to be proper, or areas, all volumes have to be proper, not only in 3D but also in plans. So if I click on a zone and if we see a particular plan, we try to zoom into at element level now. And if I select this wall, there is a exhaustive material property. You know how the layers typically are coming into a 3D model. So it's same for ArchiCAD also. And I also have the openings also mapped in ArchiCAD. So I have wall information properly available. And with that same wall which had openings, ArchiCAD is going to give me the U value. ArchiCAD is also going to give me the thermal value. It is also going to tell me what is the solar transmission from that particular opening and the quality of air. Now, talking of systems, first thing is we'll have to match the occupancy profile. We'll have to map what energy source it is coming from, whether a grout pump is used, whether it is direct heating, whether it is natural lighting, or whether it is natural gas or solar energy. What is the percentage bifurcation for the elemental level or at services level? And once this occupancy information comes in, I can then see the daylight usage, the temperature usage of every occupant. Then coming to the environment or the climatic data, wherein the tree is placed now. So the earlier model didn't have tree. Now the tree is here, and I have the climatic data inside ArchiCAD algorithm. And when we have this information inside ArchiCAD, I can then see all the algorithms with for the options that we have to create. So in these two options here, I can see the solar energy consumption in summer and winter in both the charts below. I can also tag my cost. I can see in graph also where the solar exposure is lesser and where the solar exposure is maximum. And we can then plan our building openings accordingly and the targets of these models accordingly. And once all this information is available, it is a building energy model. You can also map the savings because of external factors. And then you can run the simulation for review and extract reports basis different zones, basis different disciplines, and post the analysis, you get a simulation chart for the energy performance of that particular model. You can get this for your lighting equipments. You can get this for the exterior of a building. You can get the key values also for the entire year with climatic data or for certain elements alone. Post this, once all this information of BIM and of building energy modeling is available inside ArchiCAD, you can simply publish it to different external or internal stakeholders, because today all consultants, all stakeholders of AECO industry have invested in one or the other software. So there is no point debating on which software works well or how to let's just have the data flowing seamlessly. So with OpenBIM and interoperability, what Nemetschek is trying to propose is you can seamlessly share the data either for visuals, either for reporting, either for presentations, or you can push it to the structural teams, or you can push it to the OpenBIM environments for collaboration with construction sites, with authorities, and so on. I'm sure by now you all must have queries. So please log on your queries onto the Q&A app, and in the interest of time, at the end of the webinar, we'll try to address as many queries as possible. So we spoke of a process wherein you have complete model, all information of the project, and say from starting there were sustainability drivers decided. We went ahead with ArchiCAD, we completed the building energy modeling, and then we could see the simulations for performance evaluation. But when we start a particular project, we only have mass models. We don't have these level of informations. Say typically architects or owners, they will not have all this information with them. So then we'll go with the building energy rating. There is a tool, Vectorworks, which I said is for niche projects, but you can also use this tool for the concept level energy modeling. So we saw building energy modeling at a very detailed level with ArchiCAD, but with concept level, Vectorworks can also give you certain information for the building energy rating or the grades. Typically from A1 to G, the grades are listed, right? So we can have the same grades listed inside Vectorworks for mass models. So typically when an architect or a designer starts making the massing information and tries to have interactions with the owner for a project feasibility, then we can have the information for energy coming in right at the concept stage. And then as on the right hand side, like you see, these are typical settings which go for a mass model, wherein I can give energy performance grading to certain walls if I have certain thermal bridges, if I want to go to that extent. Apart from thermal bridges report or thermal bridge analysis, we can also get into building envelope analysis, or when the site is horizontal and huge, you can always use the building envelope ratings and start analyzing the model at a very early stage of the project. So let's see how this works at a concept level. So, for example, there are multiple building blocks in Vectorworks at a concept level. And when we want to still use the energy ratings, simply we go to the settings, we select what kind of building it is. There are pre-fed templates into this called Energios. And within Energios, I can then do my setup for certain parameters which are available for a mass model. Now, this mass model can come into Vectorworks from other different formats also. And once I have the basic level of mass model, say for one building, I can always define whether it will have solar roof or it will not have, whether it's just a slant roof. We can always decide these parameters and start feeding information to the envelope. And when we start feeding information to the envelope, I can switch off the internal walls, doors, windows, etc., and still can bring out the kilowatt hour analysis for the mass model for heating demand, cooling demand, what is the energy system, and if I continue with those design options, what kind of grading will I get for building energy rating for that particular concept stage of the project. So this is how Vectorworks will have the grading information fed in, and people can convert their concept level model also into a energy level model to analyze the energy consumptions and savings. So these were two scenarios wherein we could explore the building energy modeling at a very detailed stage, detailed designing stage, and also at concept level with two Nemetschek solutions, that was ArchiCAD and another is Vectorworks. But there are common principles like one-click LCA and open BIM interoperability, which will always be there in every product. So before we jump on to the next stage, Shoaib, do you want to run another poll and check how's the feedback?
Yep. Let's go with the next
Yeah.
poll. Yeah, this is just to check how many of you uh, are currently working or might be working on the green building certification for your projects. Just yeah, please respond whoever is working for a green building certification right now or would be doing that in the near future. Okay, thank you so much for your responses. Yeah, Mansi, we can proceed.
Cool. So that was quick. So how many people are really going for green certifications, Shoaib, if I may know?
So
Roughly,
there
I
are
would say
there are seven
50%
who,
of.
yeah, there are seven who have responded with yes. That's
Cool.
and another five who have said maybe. So about
Okay.
12 people either
Okay.
get in the process of certification or would be getting certification.
Nice. So before jumping on to the certifications, since we have seen how concept models can also be going into Vectorworks and they can also do the energy analysis at a very early stage of the project, then when Vectorworks is used for concept level, we would also like to show you that along with the energy analysis at concept level, Vectorworks can handle all the kind of renderings that are required and the amazing charters which are required at a very early stage of the project. So on the left hand side, you see a model navigating in Vectorworks. Typically, again, a interior model or a landscape model. Vectorworks definitely can handle other project typologies, but we recommend it strongly for landscape and interior and commercial fit outs. And on the right hand side, you see the exact same screen of Enscape. So most of you again must have invested into many plugins for rendering, but Vectorworks can a sustainability tool can also gel with renderings and suffice the conceptual level requirement of business charters also. Having said that, coming back to our topic, sustainability, let's understand one click LCA and Vectorworks in much more detail. So, when we talk of life cycle assessment, like let's take one example of materials, how the journey of materials start. Like coming the information coming of the material right from extraction of that material, raw material production, transporting that material to the site or manufacturing unit. Further, while it is being transported, there is energy consumption. While it is manufactured, there is energy consumption and there is wastage. And further, when it goes to actual use, there are always questions about maintenance, repair, refurbishing it, replacing it, and then end of the life cycle by completely demolishing it, completely scrapping it out as a wastage, or still reusing it, recycling it, and still benefiting from the end cycle, end goal from this whole assessment process, what we call from cradle to gate. So when we start from the gate right up to the cradle, the entire life cycle assessment has huge energy consumption and wastage mapped. So what exactly is Vectorworks taking from all this process? So Vectorworks is mapping this information at various stages. For example, we picked any material, the product name, the product description. So what you see on the right hand side is the list of parameters that Vectorworks is capturing for a given particular material. And this information, EPDs can come from different sites today. I know EPDs are not as standardized as in India as for the global segment. So US, Europe are much ahead in mapping EPDs and standardizing EPDs. But when it comes to India, at least for certain materials and certain bureaus have been putting this information on certain portals. So those portals are also well aligned with Vectorworks, and you can actually capture the EP factor, the EC factor, the source of the product, and we can also capture the testing time, the number required for shipping or transportation to come to a matrix of wastage at least. So when we go to the embodied carbon sheet of this particular material, we are providing input in this kind of a detailed sheet with a project stage also, whether the material is replaced, whether it was transported, and then we are capturing the energy value as well with certain examples here. So for example, rigid insulation or a compound material here coming from cradle to gate project stage, there are different columns you will see for the description of the material, density of the material, EC factors, the EP factors, the embodied carbon like kg CO2 value, you can actually feed in into this algorithm. And apart from capturing all this material information, Vectorworks will also do the resource mapping. It will tag all the different emissions and consumptions, and further, it will allow me to connect it with the physical report as well. So someone is having material catalogs on site, he can actually use this information and start editing on site. So this is exactly the left hand side catalog that you see, edit material tab. This is exactly how the site engineer will see to update as the project progresses. So he will see the tabs of attributes, construction, physical component, and he can start tagging the value and adding the value as well. He can comment on it and send it back to the core team. And this is how the material physical properties are mapped in Vectorworks first. And once these are mapped inside Vectorworks, along with density, it can give me a report of this kind for a given model. These are the different materials, and these are the different carbon calculators that it is throwing for a specific material. Pie chart is just an example, but we can get a detailed report from the Vectorworks algorithm as detailed as the carbon sheet that we just saw. So moving on to the next tool, that is Allplan. Allplan has multiple tools for concrete, for steel, for bridges, for highways, typically for the infra segment or the huge plants which are coming up, the data center segment, and that is aligned with the one-click LCA very clearly. Again, you will see the building energy ratings on this slide, wherein we are talking of linking these ratings and materials. Ratings and parameters to our materials only. We are not going to the extent of project life cycle yet, but I'm sure Nemetschek Solutions will take that leap also in coming years. So talking of material mapping, one-click LCA does this job by actually having buttons inside all plant tabs and pushing this information of project stage and material description as well. So let's see how a all plan video can help you with steel savings, energy savings, and we can also extract reports of different grades, as well as we can see the benchmarking of different grades. So it's logging to one click LCA. Then I can have my compartmentation, I can have different catalogs, I can select my benchmarks, I can fetch the information from any bureau portal if it's available. And after benchmarking, it will allow me to push the grade as well. And it will show me as per grade what is the consumption for carbon for that material. So we can select the portfolio as well, and we can also see the information which we want to fetch exclusively for carbon. And to give you more insights, even for a project stage or a model stage, wherein the information or layer information is not captured in the BIM model, the building information model can still connect with LCA, one click LCA, and export the material information at least. It can export or import the LCA platform files also manually, just to have the library and resources within our model at even early stages of the models. Then going on to the automated checks, or what are the energy modeling fundamentals for checking the green concept. So there are green ratings and green matrix available, but Solibri is a tool which can actually check all these information for you. Meaning, we saw three different solutions: ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, and Allplan, which were purely BIM authoring tools. So what we are seeing now is a non-authoring tool. Solibri is not a BIM authoring tool. It is a model checker with some intelligence to do few checkings automatically. So there is a federated model coming in from multiple softwares, from multiple file formats. A federated model is formed, and Solibri has close to 60 plus logics and 200 plus rules, wherein it can automate certain checks for you. Checks related to design, checks related to quantities, checks related to bylaws, and checks related to green ratings as well. So it can fetch all this information of models from common data environments that are available. So clients don't have to move the investments from their current CDEs. They can simply integrate with Solibri. Solibri can also take 50 plus file formats with an input of IFC and federate those models for you. We'll see some examples very shortly, and it has a inbuilt integration already for Trimble and Vim 360 as well. So to begin with, on the left hand side, this is a typical green rating example wherein you are trying to identify what points will you get for your site. If you have 15% of vegetation, then you get 1 point. If you have 25% of vegetation and rest is build structure, you get 2 points. And say more points are awarded, sorry. If more points are awarded, the percentage is different for topography to building structures. So if we have this kind of a rating matrix, we can simply feed this information, area information into Solibri, and it can actually tell me with different design options how the rating would be for which design option. So because Solibri can very well talk to the BIM authoring tools, that is ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, and Allplan. So any of the authoring tool throwing this information, and for automated check, Solibri can simply run this check with a rule, and it will tell me what amount of ratings will you get for this particular example. Now, talking of Green Home version 3 point distribution, there are five main areas wherein Nemetschek Green package can help you for automated checks, and it can also help you understand the green rating system in a better way, because there is immense information in the building intelligent model, but we are trying to capture and use it for our energy modeling benefits and green certification. So this pie chart that you see is the exact point distribution of green homes, and the lower three percentages, material and resources 18%, energy efficiency 20%, and sustainable design 20%. These three areas are being catered by Nemetschek Green package, wherein it can exactly show you what the rating could be and where all you can actually do energy savings. And this simulation is available to you visually. It is available in data form in 3D models, so that at a very early stage of the project, you can feed this information, use all these algorithms, and use all these automations to actually understand what is the energy model and what would be the actual consumptions. At least you will have a baseline to start the construction and start analyzing what real savings you will get in terms of energy. So let's understand which all five factors are useful for energy savings with Nemetschek Green package. So talking of energy, you can do simulations, you can map a lot of energy information, and along with creating this, you can also reap all the BIM benefits also. So building energy modeling and building information modeling is kind of linked and very well integrated inside our green package. Next is bylaws. So IGBC green ratings also say that bylaws have to be complied and it has to be checked thoroughly. So today a BIM model is available. It's only about having some automated checks and checking if my bylaws are properly aligned for energy savings or not. So we'll see some examples of bylaws also, and then we'll talk of automated design checks for building envelope, for daylight, for thermal, for solar requirements, which are again linked with the BIM authoring tool as well as the non-BIM authoring tool, that is Solibri, which is only checking all these information for you in a certain template or standardized manner. We'll see how. Then materials of cost. One also we just saw some material examples in the previous slides. And paperless sites again is using technology to cut down the usage of paper on construction site for various purposes. Even the printouts that go out, they also consume energy. So paperless site is another biggest driver of Nemetschek, wherein the collaboration, the cloud platforms, the automatic checks, the material carbon checkers, they all send information in various stages of the project to site, to and fro, and further the energy savings can be captured. So we'll start seeing some examples now. We'll go in a flow of energy simulations and material data mapping is happening into BIM or the BIM authoring tools, namely ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, and Allplan. And Solibri is checking all the ratings and points for my green checks and bylaws. So from here on, we'll talk more of the workflow. We'll talk more about how this workflow aligns with your existing way of working, and we'll also see how exactly uh, Nemetschek offers all these solutions to do all this in an automatic way. So most of you must be familiar with this kind of a workflow, wherein typically these solutions are giving value, creating an information rich model, and it is delivering what we call as BIM model today. But for green certifications, we would like you to align with the workflow, which is more linear and which is still delivering the same value with sustainability drivers and with certain automated checks as value addition. So we'll start going into some deep diving into this kind of workflow also. So how exactly Solibri works? Solibri is going to bring in different models. So on the left hand side, you will see a space model. There is an architecture model. It can come from Revit, ArchiCAD, or any other solution, even any parametric solution. Say structure model is coming from Tekla. Then MEP model is coming from another BIM authoring tool. So all these are federated together, and an integrated model can still be created inside Solibri. That is the first benefit of using a solution like Solibri. And further, it is going to allow me do the coordinations, the class checks, the green checks, the bylaw checks. I can do the to and fro at design stage with designers, wherein I can send information back and forth for design or for sustainability or even for the authorities to have their information coming out from a 3D model, and the reports can be extracted in multiple global formats, and a final model is ready which is with certain rules and reports. So this is the typical workflow for automating your checks. So, like I said, this is an example of an architecture structure MEP model together coming inside Solibri. It can come from different file formats. So, on the right hand side, you can see Solibri interface snapshot, wherein Solibri is allowing me to bring in IFC file formats, schema 2 by 3, schema 3 by 4 for all these various files and softwares. And it is understanding the discipline and category also. Meaning, if a particular model is coming from BOCAD, it knows that it is structural and it can identify structural rules for checking. So, Solibri understands the roles of a model checker. It can be BIM managers, it can be ESG managers, it can be people who want to review the models, which is federated. Because today, a structural consultant can be using SDS2, he can be using Tekla, he can be using Revit, he can be using ArchiCAD, but all these models go to a site engineer, which is not very equipped. The sites are not that equipped with technology today. So a hardware friendly software like Solibri can bring in these different file format IFCs and federate one model for that fellow to review a complete model which is made in different softwares today. So all these softwares integrate well with Solibri. And once this information comes in, Solibri will allow me to run design checks for my different area calculations, area requirements, area considerations, and also for coordination for construction handover stages and also green rating. So we'll deep dive into this area now. So who all can use or is using Solibri? Anybody who wants to review a model, who wants to check a model, can start using Solibri. It can be architects, it can be structural managers, engineers, it can be the owner himself or the contractor also. The BIM and non-BIM designations can also deep dive with Solibri because it is checking something with a pre-designed algorithm. We are not going into the software and creating something. There are algorithms and logics available in the system and we'll just run those. So we'll see how those works. So this is a one example from Solibri, wherein a typical owner or a residential building demands certain area check or area considerations as per our bylaws. When we try to do those, we want to check the carpet areas, we want to check the construction areas, we want to check the parking areas. So slicing dicing of that model template is also available inside Solibri. Solibri will check all the carpet areas for a given type of apartment, or it can show me a consolidated view for entire floor plate or entire building also. So I can segregate my information takeoff. We call it information takeoff in Solibri, which is allowing me to segregate all this information first. And once I have the information on the checking tab, this is exactly how Solibri looks. And on the checking tab, it is going to have certain rules. So with the rules here, I have parking efficiency ratio. On the right hand bottom corner, I am giving it a ratio. For an area like this in a residential building, I should have 30 car parks, for example. But Solibri is flagging a error saying that only 32 are provided, which is a good thing. But for places like Mumbai, it would the ratio would always be on the lesser side, like 25 would be provided or 20 or whatever. So it is going to flag that report by checking through this template. So there is a model with this slab, there is a model which has car park information. It is coming to Solibri. The template is already available, and all we have to do is put this ratio for a given area. So when we give this area, it is going to show me the ratio, and it will go to an extent of showing this ratio at a concept stage. So this is a model of a floor plate wherein the developer said that, we can have the efficiency ratio, construction efficiency ratio at 80%. Only then it is at a good profit, and it can allow some wastages to be incurred, and we can map those. But taking his model, we understood that still that ratio is not 80%, it is 77%. So these construction ratios, which are also demanded by bylaws for energy savings, are also available inside Solibri. Then talking of all this information templates, so we are talking of a lot of information and lot of data, right? So typically the first rule that Solibri should use is, if the given information or the required information for doing automatic checks itself is available in the model or no. So we can create these kind of templates and sheets, and we can check even at element level, even at discipline level or category level, for BIM validation, for automatic checks, if the information is first available in the BIM or BEM model or no. So it has a rule for checking certain templates, certain guidelines, and certain requirements. We can also check certain distances, the allowed and maximum and minimum distances of a component. Because when we talk of bylaws, it's a huge book of rule sets, right? So out of those bylaws, today we would say that, say, 60 to 70% of it is not available inside, completely available inside a 3D model. So out of those 30-40% which is available in a 3D model, from that, maximum is about checking the distances. It could be setbacks, it could be clear distances, the horizontal distances, vertical distances, the angular distances, the offset, the setbacks. All of this is comprising our bylaw checking. So when we take some examples, you will see here the red highlighted area on the left hand side. It is going to tell me like how the distance is to be calculated. So this rule is available inside. I am just selecting the link. I am selecting what parameters I need. And I am selecting here, for an example, I want to check all the clear heights from my services, all the clear heights from lights, all the clear heights from firefighting, or the clear height or plenum space heights for basements, all these setbacks which I have to calculate manually and go inside a model and measure, Solibri is going to automatically check that for me. For installation also, this free area is important. So you see a small component like WC, or you can imagine a big component like AHU, it needs a lot of free area around it to be installed. So even in model, we can check if that area is available or not. And that is a template or a logic available inside Solibri. We just have to run the rule in that model and do our checking. So we can do certain level of classifications for requirements like firefighting check. Typically, the doors, windows, the openings are defined in bylaws that they have to be fire rated for certain hours. So the model is there. All we have to tag the information for firefighting. For example, if the fire route is given, if the fire rating is given for certain components, it can be color coded. So in this particular example, you can see the red one being typically for 1.5 hours fire rating. So only one zone is fire rated for 1.5 hours, and the rest in yellow, which is tagged, is for say 30 minutes. And those could be again the concrete elements or which are there in the model. So this segregation, this classification, filtering of objects can also happen in Solibri, and then you can run the checks. Then again, free space for a particular component. If we have to deep dive down to an object level, it could be any object of architecture, structure, MEP. Especially the MEP models are more cramped. Even when we try to do clash check, the model tolerances are like, there is no space actually to even go there for a labor to go there and install certain things. So something as small as a valve you see in this example, the bylaw says that there has to be 300 free space available around it for maintenance, for checking, for installation, and so on. But the MEP spaces are so cramped today that it is even hard to imagine whether this kind of a checking can happen unless we see the mess on site. Most of the engineers will not find out that the design has flaws. So we can use Solibri for this kind of automated checking so that we can save some hazard that happens on construction site. Then our very favorite clash check. You must have seen immense information on clash check, but there is one. So one of the rules out of 200 rules, one of it is clash check also, wherein Solibri gives me this same clash matrix. It can have tolerances for volume, for horizontal tolerances, area tolerances. All of that is available. But the only differentiator here is I can exclude certain clashes here. So typically, when we talk of clash management in a owner or a real estate sector, the typical remark is that a software can give me 1,000 clashes, but I am interested in some clashes which avoid, or it can show me some savings. So I can exclude the clashes which are not related to core cuts. I can exclude clashes which are allowed, like a pipe going through a wall is allowed. It's just a core cut, it's no big deal. So those kind of requirements wherein we want to filter out our clash check itself, so we can pre-decide those components which are typically allowed or which are typically considered as okay for a clash. Those can be filtered. You can see some examples here for light fixtures, for a pipe going through walls, and so on. These can be filtered so that tolerance is one first level wherein we say that you can filter out certain clashes. But apart from core cuts, whatever is coming into this category can also be filtered for a actual or a proper clash check report using Solibri. I can filter out the rules also. So, for example, we are running a particular clash or a rule, and we are identifying certain issues. Those issues go for coordination, those issues go for collaboration. Say there were 100 issues, and we found out that in a given workshop, we could resolve 50 of them. So, for 50, Solibri can identify the failed components. 50 are say resolved components, and it can run the rule or the automated checking only for remaining issues which are unresolved. So basically, when the collaboration happens to resolve all these issues with automated checks, Solibri allows me to filter out with certain intelligence, wherein I can create options and selection baskets. So these baskets will have my collaboration information also. So what is happening is in option one, I have certain components which are checking the pass. Okay, they go ahead. So this is another basket where Solibri is segregating the elements. Then we have certain components which failed and we need to go back to the design board. Those failed components are in a different basket. And then there is a sub rule which is checking both the components with different rules possibly. So this flexibility of checking different rules is amazing. That's my favorite feature. And it really gives flexibility to the designer to choose what he wants to select, or even different BIM coordinators, BIM managers. They can take up all these different selection baskets and segregate and slice dice their model for proper reports and proper information. Then, talking of reports and automated workflows. So, reporting, communicating, and automating our workflows is the segment which I will touch base shortly. And let's take another poll before that. Shoaib?
Sure, sounds good. Let's that right away. You can select multiple choices here. Which trend do you think will impact architecture and BIM the most in the coming 5 years?
Which are all the
Okay.
trends we have?
A AI and cloud seems to be at the top right now with 8
Okay.
responses.
Okay.
Yeah. The others, do you want to respond to this question? It will dictate what we focus on next.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll keep this poll open for now. Maybe
Uh-huh.
if others want to respond to this later after going through the presentation, they can respond later as well.
Sure. So we have seen different things today. We have seen two project stages wherein a complete detailed BIM model is available and we are converting it to building energy modeling. Or we have a conceptual stage model and we can still do some energy modeling analysis. And then we push these two different types of models inside Solibri to check with certain logic. So, like I said, Solibri has 200 plus rules available inside it. It can further customize and allow me to add different rules also. But when Solibri is flagging all the information, there is a set of reports and there is a set of workflow that can ease out the collaboration and certain hurdles. So, this is the last segment of the webinar. So Shoaib, are the queries started coming in already?
We have one query so far, but I would urge
Okay.
others to put their questions in the Q&A
Mhm.
box.
Sure. So
Yeah.
till we have the queries coming in, so because I was trying to gauge if we can
Yeah,
spend more time
yeah,
on the.
one of the questions which engineer Kishore has put is, I am
Mhm.
impressed with the sustainability issue initiatives from the Nemetschek group, especially around
Mhm.
environmental product declarations, which is EPDs, and
Right.
tracking embodied carbon. However, in countries like India, where there are limited suppliers who disclose EPDs, I would like to understand how we can effectively track embodied carbon and calculate scope 3 emissions.
Certainly.
What are some strategies or best practices for
Mhm.
accurately assessing and tracking scope 3
Mhm.
emissions in such context? So engineer
Sure.
Kishore, yeah, maybe I'll kind of allow his mic as well
Okay.
so that, yeah, I've allowed his mic.
All
So
right.
Kishore,
So
Kishore,
Kishore, we
we've
met at the Green Congress, right? Good to see you in the webinar also. So I'll proceed with the presentation and we'll park the queries
Sure,
and we'll pick up as they come.
sure. But I think you
So
touched base upon EPDs in your
yes,
in
yes.
one of the previous slides.
Yes.
Okay.
So EPDs, so when the carbon checkers or when these solutions were implemented in US or in Europe, because globally, even though like Shoaib said, 40% of the energy consumption and wastage alone comes from construction. In that 40% also, there is the major consumption is coming from Europe and US. So
Yeah.
these solutions were implemented in those regions first, and it could so happen that the bureaus of environment and the bureaus of climate could collect all the EPD information, and it is available in their portals, like how we take the climate information today and link it to our model, or we take the model coordinates and link it to our models. That kind of standardization of EPDs has not happened in India. It has started. The bureaus are very much working on it. We should be thankful. But
Yeah.
there are certain products which IGBC also says that they are pro energy or they are green products,
Green
meaning
Pro
the
products.
EPDs are
Yeah,
mapped. Sorry, is there a
yeah,
question?
the Green Pro products. What you're being saying, the EPDs and the
Green
life cycle
Pro,
assessment
yes. So the
has
Green
been
Pro
mapped.
products also has materials inside it, wherein the list of materials is shorter right now. But for certain segments of materials, you will find EPDs on the portals of bureaus, and you can still, capture that information. At least you will have a baseline of material EPDs when you start a project, and as the project progresses from concept to schematic to detail to at the construction core construction area also, wherein the vendors come on board, they start sharing specification. At that stage also you can compare these EPDs back and see the energy analysis and savings for PMC or owner for that matter.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
And a few of the manufacturers or material product manufacturers that were at the IGBC event uh,
yes,
came forward and suggested that we include their product information in our families or in our softwares. So yeah,
yes.
the people are forthcoming to have their material information tagged and available within Nemetschek tools.
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the part one of my question. Like, how do you think like we can do in terms of scope three emissions? Like, it is what the WASH to track, as you rightly said while I was running through your sessions. Like, from the gate to entry and how the site people can track the solibri checks and those things. But to track
Mhm.
those emissions associated with that is what,
Yes,
like, I personally feel in the BIM
it
industry
is
it's a bit
critical.
difficult. Yeah. So how do
Scope
you address
3.
it?
Yes, I would say these scope stages are all scope stages. Information is not available in India right now. I completely take that. But at least there are solutions like Nemcheck offering solutions for scope 1 at least, or partially for scope 2, I would say. At least if we start somewhere, take baby steps and, start working on those scopes, and eventually we'll cover all three scopes for Kishore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Sounds good. So let's go on to our last segment, that is reporting and automation of workflows. So we talked about many softwares generating a lot of data, and these kind of reports are populated. And there is BCF format, which is also a global file format like IFC. There is MVD file format also like IFC, which is purely for collaboration and reports. So what happens is Solibri can send back information. So right now what you see on screen is a report populated by Solibri for the issues with all the images, all the coordinate information. And on the right hand side, you will see a tab which is live issues details. So if you forget this tab for a minute, typically we would say that, this kind of a report can be extracted in Excel, can be extracted in PDF, and it can be circulated. There can be heated workshops wherein people are doing their collaboration, solving some issues not happening and all that. That is a traditional way of solving issues. But in collaboration, cloud collaboration, you can send all these issues live to the BIM authoring tool. Meaning today Solibri plugins are available inside every BIM authoring tool. So on the right hand side tab wherein you see live issues details. So all this information go backs to the BIM authoring tool, say ArchiCAD or Allplan or Revit for that matter. This information goes live inside the model so that a person who's actually checking the model, working on the model, along with this status report, he can see where the issues are and he can start working on it. He doesn't have to wait for a PDF, he doesn't have to wait for a workshop, and he can simply start working on the model with these issues live. And this issue checker is not limited to bylaws alone. You can also get the carbon checking for certain models. Like I said, with resource IDs inside the authoring tool, with the material category specified, and we can also go to a element level right now. But I would suggest, since it is at a material category system level, it is more at a zoning level, or it is more at, say, all walls, all structural walls can be listed under this report. All internal walls can be listed under this report for carbon checking and ITO mapping. So you will see one tab here inside the report that says carbon check and ITO per GUID. So it is literally tagging every component, and the information goes back for certain issues or certain red flags that Solibri is giving. This information goes back to the GUID or the element ID inside the authoring tool. You can also get the information takeoff, or the slicing dicing of the model happens inside Solibri. Post that, I can take a information takeoff again at element level, all the consolidated elements, and I can pull out what is the CO2 emission per kg for particular components across that model. Of course, like I said, for building energy model to be correct, you should first feed in all this information inside model. It can be the emission factors, it can be the EPDs, it can be the area or basic dimension or datum information of particular elements. So once we have all this information, we can also extract drawings, and Bluebeam can help me collaborate and circulate all the information to various stakeholders. So along with the reports, and those drawings can be populated and published into PDF formats, and Bluebeam exclusively takes PDF formats for cloud collaboration, for your punch workflow, for your RFI workflow, and it is going to allow all different stakeholders to extract information from those PDFs, from the PDF reports, from the PDF drawings, and this collaboration can also happen real time, because when all this information is generated for BIM or for BEM, then there is a lot of information for a given project. For example, there might be thousands of drawings and 50 odd or 100 or report for energy evaluation alone. So what Bluebeam is going to do, it is going to take all these PDFs which are available with all information, and people can actually fetch information of areas, volumes, zones, analysis of energy, all the RFIs, punch list. All this is available on PDF kind of format for people to collaborate from anywhere from the sites. So typically for checking if the energy evaluation is properly happening for a particular model, that itself takes 10 to 15,000 euros today for any given green checking. But while designing, or at a stage wherein the model is ready, wherein the energy information is coming in, we can still use these softwares and cut down on that cost as well, and cut down on the energy savings also. So when we talk of creating these reports, there is a level of scripting and there is a level of automation that is already available inside all these softwares. Meaning, like I said, there are 60 odd logics and there are 200 different rules available inside Solibri. If we want to create further more rules, or if we want to customize altogether a new logic for sustainability, there are open sources, there are open scripts like macros available inside Solibri, which work with Visual Basic Programming, and people can simply start using those models. So, a workflow examples are seen on the screen. So, you will see three examples and a fourth automated workflow with ArchiCAD. So first example is the algorithm is going to take, so SMC is the Solibri file format. So it is going to take that file, update the IFC and send the Solibri model back to native file format. So this is an automated workflow which Solibri will keep doing as many number of SMC files that keep coming to a BIM manager, for example. Second example is there are multiple IFCs coming to a BIM coordinator. So there can be a program or an algorithm within Solibri which is simply opening those IFCs, giving it, linking it to certain standard classification. It could be classification for bylaws, it could be classification for your green checks, and it is simply linking it to rules. It is extracting a report with presentation and it is saving that model. So these steps can also be automated. There necessarily need not be a person who's doing all these steps. With AI coming in, Solibri can simply, automate this complete workflow for you. All you need is you need ArchiCAD, you need Solibri, and I'm sure most of you must have invested in Microsoft Office. So Power Automate can really automate all the different workflows which are like mundane tasks for you. So we are shortly coming out with a Solibri Assist webinar also, wherein we can talk more of automating these processes for you. Automating processes for BIM coordinator, for BIM managers, wherein they get multiple files for complex projects. At least certain files will go in a workflow, they will extract report, they will extract images, and then the BIM guy can sit and evaluate those reports, and he can take informed decisions for his team. That is the level of automation right now that Nemetschek tools can offer. And we spoke of all the different solutions, but what we saw was at the heart of BIM authoring, it was ArchiCAD, it was Vectorworks, and it was Allplan. So when we talk of BIM authoring solutions to create building energy models, it is mainly ArchiCAD for architecture, structure, MEP. It is Vectorworks for concept, interiors, and landscape. And it is Allplan for all the complex infra segment, that is your bridges, tunnels, all the steel warehouses, and all those kind of projects. And on the left hand side that you see is Solibri and Bluebeam collaborating the 2D PDFs and collaborating the 3D models in the most smartest way, I would say. The right hand side workflow is more of cloud collaboration, wherein all this information of drawings, all this information of energy reports, automated checks across multiple revisions, across different project stages can be pushed to cloud, and people on tab, people on mobile apps can seek this information, and there is no need of actual paper on site. So I would now invite Shoaib to tell you more about Green Package, and then we can jump on to the Q&A or query, addressing certain queries if people have any.
Yeah, before that, maybe another poll quick.
Oh, wow.
It's a straightforward yes or no poll.
Cool.
So, do you believe adopting software technology will make your certification process faster? Good to see the quick responses.
That's nice.
6 responses so far.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them, of course, positive. I'll leave the poll open for a bit so that
Okay.
others can also chip in. It's a straightforward yes or no question, so feel free to respond whenever you get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is the Nemetschek India Green Building Package. Okay. So what we want is for you to be able to pick and choose which of these solutions would make more sense for you. So that would include one authoring software, either ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, or Allplan. Okay. One checking software, which is Solibri, and Bluebeam, which is to collaborate with the stakeholders on 2D drawings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So combination of three tools will allow architects, designers, either green building consultants, contractors, the design teams within real estate developers to create and manage and monitor sustainable, energy efficient, and environmentally responsible buildings. We've not included DTwin in this because it requires a larger implementation. So that will be taken on a case to case basis. But just to make it easier and more accessible to whoever wants to implement Nemetschek solutions, especially those in the field of sustainability, right? We offer them a choice to pick and choose either of these softwares to help their workflows. And as promised by our managing director at the IGBC Green Building Congress, we are offering these solutions at a 25% discount until the end of this year. So if we are talking with you, engaging, and in the process of implementation, okay, do get in touch with us over the next 34 days to avail the 25% discount. Yeah,
Sounds
Mansi.
good.
Yeah,
So our last segment of question answers, if any, before we part, these are quick scans wherein people can save our contacts and they can find us on LinkedIn as well. So we can now move on to any queries or we can mute, unmute few participants if they have any feedback.
and these QRs will take you to our LinkedIn pages. Just send in a connection request to either of us.
So let me now stop
Yeah,
sharing the presentation. We can have our cameras on and people can share their feedback if any.
sure. I think there's another question which I'm not able to see, but
Mm-hmm.
Shiva tells me there is one question in the chat box. Shiva,
Mm-hmm.
can you read out that question, please?
Sure. Am I audible?
Yes.
So the question from Krunal Nigandi is: do you have materiality values for natural materials such as bamboo for the LCA analysis?
Yes, for wood, bamboo, it's available. It's available inside Vectorworks as of now. Yeah.
Okay, and we have another question from Veer Munot is: can you share what you're doing for the green building sector?
Sure. So for green building sector, right now we are working with the technical committee of IGBC, wherein we can, segregate a list of ratings. Like a few examples I showed here was bylaws. A few examples were from the site usage points. Few examples will be from the setbacks which are necessary, and few examples from the building envelope, like the broader segments. And the another segment is energy analysis. So if the energy analysis happens with BIM authoring tool, Solibri can typically check that and tell you what kind of points it will take. So that is the kind of workflow we are trying to set up with IGBC, and shortly you will hear something from the Green Committee itself.
All right. And sure, can we have the contact sheet again so that people can scan the QR?
Yes, that's with me actually. Yeah.
Also, there is another question from Engineer Kishore is that do we have any trial version so that we can have a hands-on experience with the green package that the points with IGPC?
Yes, so for the authoring tools, the trial versions are very much available on the website itself. But for Solibri exclusively, if you need the trial license, you have to write to Shoaib and he can facilitate same. There is a free version called Solibri Anywhere, which is available on Solibri portal, but that will not give you a glimpse of all the rules which are available inside Solibri. So to have a look and feel of the complete rule sets and all the logics that are available in the system, there are logics available for MEP spaces, for parking, for firefighting, for design checks, and there is a lot actually. So to if you want to get a glimpse of it, I would recommend that you write to Shoaib for a trial version with complete set of rules and we can facilitate that.
All right, thank you, Mansi. That is all the questions that I can see in the meeting chat.
Cool. Sounds good. So if there is any feedback, please feel free to reach out and you can always leave comments for us. We'll keep the poll and keep the chat open for another 5 minutes, or we can
I
call
have
it.
an interest. Yeah, I have an interesting poll,
Okay.
and of course,
Okay.
I've heard so many people talking about this, and that's why I had to
Mm-hmm.
put this through. What are the top challenges your organization faces in adopting BIM workflows?
Mm-hmm.
And the different things that we have heard, of course, is lack of training of in-house staff, cost of the software, resistance to change, which
Mm-hmm.
is always there for anything. It's not just BIM. Okay, and interoperability issues. So people telling us that even if the architect provides them a BIM model, they still have to model it within energy analysis softwares again. Okay,
Okay.
so because there's no interoperability.
Yeah, the it's a lot of rework for the energy guys actually.
Yeah,
Maybe people can just raise hands if they want to share feedback or have queries
yeah,
because
sure.
the mute is disabled from the webinar portal.
Yeah, I see there's a Q&A, another
Mhm.
one. Okay, I was just someone liking the previous question,
Okay.
or do you see it, Shiva? I don't see it on my chat. Yeah, Krunal is trying to speak with us. Just a second, Krunal. I've allowed your mic, Krunal.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So sure, Mansi, it was
Yes, sir.
very interesting. My basic query, although you answered it partially, Mansi, was that you have bamboo as a materiality. But I'm saying about a complete climate positive kind of a structure where where the conventional material usage is bare minimum.
Right.
And if we have to give a comparison to a client saying that this is a conventional structure that you would otherwise do, and
Hmm.
here you're using absolutely and completely a biophilic design with all natural materials, then
Right.
will this kind of software basically help in making a proper comparison, or still there is work to do in terms of the input data
Uh,
required? Like we
I
did a
believe there is.
U value analysis for a project in
Hmm.
Maldives, We didn't
Hmm.
get any software, so we had to take out individual materials, look at air gap, so the methodology of
Correct.
construction was also quite different, the
Was
design was
different.
different.
I agree. I agree.
So that's the question
Partially.
actually.
That's a very good question and observation, sir. Because even the algorithms today have a lot of flexibility to tweak particular rows or columns or attributes. But like you said, there is some amount of work which has to happen on the conventional side of things, the way construction happens in India. These algorithms are well tested and well working for the US market or UK market.
Hmm.
So the algorithms are flexible. You can, I would suggest, try out one model which has information of bamboo. You will see some blank rows, you will see some blank
Yeah,
attributes right now under
yeah.
material density to description to stage where it was, conventionally started, executed. We might need to add certain parameters, say for transportation, the way wood is
Hmm.
transported, the way wood is bamboo is transported with different catalogs of bamboos. All those catalogs may not be available inside Solibri or inside ArchiCAD or Vectorworks,
Hmm.
but it is flexible enough for us to add that information. At least you
Hmm.
will have a baseline wherein maybe right now you're doing it manually or you're struggling with even finding U value, like you said. You can at least have a baseline matching up to 40%, I would say, and we can start customizing it for you.
Actually, there's no struggle. The aesthetics
Hmm.
are a predominant factor for the kind of work that we design. But the
Yeah.
point is that, the if I were to give a scientific analysis to a client and give a
Hmm.
comparison, so particularly after COVID,
Comparison, yes, comparison we can give. So that's what I said. The comparison can be given for the conventional algorithm which is working in a region like US right now. For
hmm,
a region like India, the core parameters we might need today, the attributes might be seen blank. So we'll
hmm.
have to fill in that information and then you can pull out a comparison of this energy savings for your clients. That is doable.
But do you have any example of it being done using this software? So I'm
Uh,
talking, let's say, a
yes.
category of a regenerative resort, a simple category of regenerative resort, where all
Hmm.
aspects of design, right from orientation to sunpath analysis and other aspects have been taken into
Hmm.
account,
Hmm.
as well as the
Hmm.
materiality,
Got
to
it.
make it not just net zero but regenerative in nature. Let's say that's an example of paradigm we are talking of. Would you by
Okay.
any chance have an example of a case
We
study?
surely, yes, for global, our global team can come and, kind of present you for a resort category. Right now,
Hmm.
the examples which we have available is
More
for a
of commercial. Understood.
commercial airport or data centers, because
Hmm.
for resort is still a luxury segment, but it's untapped. So
Hmm.
the teams who have developed and who have really implemented onto the airports and data sites and the
Hmm.
horizontal development, actually they can bring in this kind of a case study and we can definitely circle back with a detailed conversation with you.
Perfect. So I already sent you the LinkedIn request. You'll have my
Great.
contact to you and Shoaib both. So I look
Okay.
forward to
Sure.
your response. Okay. Pleasure talking to
Absolutely.
you. And thank you for this
Likewise. Thank
information.
you.
Yeah,
Bye
thank you
bye.
for your
Thank you so much.
questions. Thank you for your
Thank you.
question. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, sure.
Yes, Kishore.
Sure, I've allowed your mic. You should be able to speak.
Yes. Can you? I hope you can hear me out.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Yes, Mansi and Shoaib, the session was very interesting. Like being in the field as
Hmm.
a green building consultant and as a BIM, working as a BIM consultant also. So it's
Okay.
been great. Like in earlier days, like just as a feedback point, like a lot of developers were hesitating to go with BIM. If you see in a couple of decades back, they were only sticking on to CAD. So nowadays the BIM is getting evolved, and with the
Yep.
Nemetschek, India was growing an innovative thing with sustainability getting into part of it. So that's where like we can get BIM with sustainability taking into a right path. That too in
Mhm.
India, like people like within a being a geographically vast in terms of collecting a data is being very difficult. It's not very geographic centric. Like each state has a different variation. The soil
Yes.
conditions and the IGBC rules varies. Being as an IGBC AP, the geographic conditions within a state to state it changes varily. Like we don't have the same climatic factor as in
Yeah.
US or Europe. Like we do have a variations and a lot of other things. Like I think it was a
Not
great
only,
innovative session.
yeah, thank you. And you're right, spot on. Like state-wise, not only the climatic data changes, the material preference changes, the
Yes,
EPD or
the
the emission data also changes,
the
and
locally
the
sourced
bureaus
materials.
have, yeah, the energy bureaus, the material bureaus, they have their own, adoption of technology curves, and it is kind of not aligned fully, but I believe Nemchek is here to connect the dots, so it should happen
Yep.
sometime soon.
Yeah, sure. And about the transportation, the scopes, emissions, and
Yep,
all, like it's
transportation
been very
also
weird.
issues.
The automation sector and being as a building sector, for me, like we can contribute in terms of like reducing it. If we build any sector of the buildings, it
Mm-hmm.
can sustain for more than 60 years, considering a building life
Absolutely.
cycle. So whatever we build for once, it can be for the next 60 years, it can be carbon negative. Once if we plan in that way with the BIM and the sustainability technologies which we have, so which will be
Mm-hmm.
having added benefit. Like over a period of time, like I feel real estate is the one sector where they can instantly start reducing it from the sector wise, because if you're
Got
building
it.
it once and the 60 years is what you have the retention period, like you have the whole 60 years to make it down. uh,
Absolutely.
yes.